Hey, kiddos. Hope everybody's doing well. Last class, we looked at the start of climate change or the causes, thinking about fossil fuels and the Industrial Revolution. Just a couple readings questions for us. We got this crazy looking map here with all these squiggly lines. It's called a topographic map. And what does it show? Well, we can't tell if this is hot, dry, wet, or cold, so it's not climates. And we can't tell if the people that live here, what ethnicity they are. Patterns of trade, usually if there's a trade map, there's going to be arrows that point in the direction of the trade routes. Instead, topographic maps, which you'll see a lot of in earth science, shows physical features. These lines represent elevation. And so if the lines are super close together, like right here, that means that land is really, really, really steep. And if the lines are spread out, like right here, it means you have really flat land. And where you see a circle, that's the top of a hill or a mountain, okay? So it's kind of like looking down on the earth. All right, next question. Sorry. All right, which social scientist is most concerned with analyzing the relationship between the supply of and the demand for goods and services? So supply is how much of something you have. Demand is how bad people want it. A good is anything of value that you can hold. This pen's a good, this phone's a good, this mask is a good, right? We pay money for things that we can hold. Services are things people do for you that cost money. So a haircut, a cab ride, heart surgery. I can't hold heart surgery, but it's super valuable. Those doctors provide a service. So which people study that stuff? Well, anthropologists, they study different cultures. Sociologists study groups of people. Political scientists study governments, and economists are the ones that study the supply and demand of goods and services. They're the ones that are looking at money. All right, so our throwback has to do with the causes of climate change. Now, there is one major cause, and it is burning fossil fuels. When you burn fossil fuels, it releases carbon dioxide, which creates the greenhouse effect. 3 fossil fuels from dirtiest to cleanest: coal, petroleum, natural gas. Anytime you burn any of those, we're releasing carbon dioxide, leading to climate change. Solutions are clear. We need to reduce the amount of fossil fuels we use. We need to reduce the amount of stuff we buy. Like there's fossil fuels and things that you might not even know about, like oil is used to make plastic. Oil is used to pave roads, all right? So it's not just like filling up your cars or heating your house. There's lots of different ways in which fossil fuels are used. We need to reduce fossil fuels. We need to reduce the stuff we buy. We need to reuse what we have. Single-use stuff like, the plastic fork you get from a takeout restaurant that you use once and throw it away, that's no good for the environment. So we got to try to reduce and reuse the stuff we have. All right, today we're going to look at the impacts of climate change. Some of this is probably, you know this already, but it's worth reviewing, and there's some fancy terms here that I'll go over. So every place on Earth is somehow impacted by climate change. If you take the average temperature of the entire Earth, it is slowly going up. And some places kind of see the effects of climate change more dramatically than others. So the North and the South Pole see it really, really, really dramatically. Then there's some places around like the Caribbean where they're prone to big hurricanes. This summer and fall, we had massive wildfires in the western part of the United States. But every single place on Earth is impacted in some way or another. And unfortunately, some of these changes are maybe irreversible. So, fancy word that's not that hard to understand. This is desertification. And if you look at the first part of it, you see the word desert. All right? Desertification is the process where good land becomes bad land. All right? You can see it happening in this picture. We got green grasses here, and then like dried out earth here. Okay? And the way this happens is people either over-farm the land or they allow animals to overeat the plants. And then you have no more roots to hold the soil in place. And it dries up and the wind blows it away and eventually becomes desert. And it's a huge threat in parts of in many parts of the world. So here's a map of desertification threats. Any place that is red is really, really endangered of losing its good land. This is the Middle East right here. Almost the entirety of the Middle East is endangered. This is the belt right below the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert is getting bigger each year as this land goes from good land to bad land in Africa. And the western part of the United States. One of the reasons we saw so many forest fires and wildfires is that land is becoming so dry, all right? So desertification is a big, huge problem facing many countries. Sorry, I'm like bouncing myself around here. All right, next impact, melting ice. So got two massive ice sheets on Earth, the North Pole and the South Pole. And ice obviously cools air down, but more importantly, that ice is like a mirror for the Earth. And when the sun comes down and hits that mirror, it bounces back into space. But as the Earth is warming, we have less and less and less of the ice, so the mirror is shrinking. So there's less area to reflect the heat and the light back into space. So that heat is staying inside our atmosphere, now it's trapped with the greenhouse effect. And so this poses many risks, most notably rising sea levels. The vast majority of human beings live near water. You and I live near water, even though it's sometimes easy to forget that New York City is like basically surrounded by water. Manhattan's an island. Brooklyn is part of an island, Long Island. And so those communities and ecosystems will be threatened by rising sea levels. Now, with increase in temperature, the Earth is getting warmer. That means the land and the water, all right? And water getting warmer is bad for lots and lots of reasons. One reason, the coral reefs die out, which is like home to lots of baby fish that become big fish in the ocean. But also storms, particularly hurricanes, get stronger over warm water, and they get weaker over cold water. That's why like lots of the hurricanes are in the Caribbean, because that is a warm body of water and it's getting warmer. And so we see devastating effects like what we saw from Hurricane Maria as stronger and stronger storms are hitting various parts of the world. Deforestation is a huge problem. Human beings have cut down trillions of trees, trillions, okay? And generally speaking, these trees are cut down for two reasons. A, people can make money by selling the wood from these rainforests. And B, once it's cleared out, they'll burn it, like you see here, and then they'll use that land for farming. But trees are the lungs of the earth. They keep the atmosphere clean. They actually suck in the bad stuff, the carbon dioxide, and they pump out the good stuff, oxygen. So we're destroying our own filter as we deforest the land. And lastly for today, our diets are a big problem. This is gonna come as a surprise, and some of you probably don't want to hear it, but eating meat is really bad for the environment. I'm not a vegetarian, I'm not a vegan, I eat meat, but I also know that I need to do it in moderation because the effects on the environment of our diets are huge. It is a really inefficient way to eat. It requires tons of resources and creates tons of pollution, all right? 23% of the world's fresh water goes to animals that we will eventually kill. 13% of our 14.5% of our greenhouse gases come from eating meat. 33% of our farmland goes to the animals that we will eventually eat. All right? And so I'm not saying you got to switch to vegetarianism like overnight, but just be cognizant of it. Me, myself, I try to eat meat one meal a day, right? Whether that's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, I've tried to reduce it to that because I know I just can't like have a bacon, egg, and cheese for breakfast, followed by a turkey sandwich for lunch, followed by a steak for dinner. That's just really not good for our environment. So here are some of the major causes of climate change. Tomorrow we'll look at how we might be able to respond to it. All right, kiddos, reach out with questions or concerns. Bye.